we must dwell. Get your hustle on and that wealth build. From the dirt to the gold, every story's untold. Cash flow Savannah, where ambition takes hold. Started with $1, stretched it to a mile. Every setback just a set up.
Welcome to Cashflow Savannah. Unfortunately, Chandler's not here today. We love him. We miss him. Today, we have three special guests. You are looking at the entirety as of today of Team 912, and we are an all investor real estate team. We are all licensed agents. We are all very authentically real estate investors ourselves. I'm very proud of that fact. I'm assuming you guys can all back me up on this, but once you work with an agent that's also an investor that helps you buy investment properties, there's no going back. Like, it's just a totally different world. We don't sell retail. Typically, we focus on investment properties that are going to make you money. And today we have a fantastic topic. We're going to talk about investing as a veteran using the VA loan. The VA loan, which you'll hear more about, is a very powerful tool. And with real estate, what helps real estate really make you the most money is the fact that we can combine real estate with lending. Okay, we don't need the entire amount up front to buy a house. In fact, we actually need a very small amount of cash up front to buy a house. You look at the stock market, if you want to buy Tesla stock and you want to buy 100,000 worth of stock, you're going to have to walk in the door of Wall Street with $100,000. But in real estate, you can actually walk in the door with significantly less than what the house is worth. And over time, the home goes up in value. You hopefully will be collecting rent, and that tenant will pay off that mortgage for you. Veterans have the capability of using a VA loan. I am not a veteran, nor is my husband. So I'm very familiar with this, how to invest using a VA loan. We do have two agents on our team who are very closely associated with the U.S. military, and we thank them and their spouse for their service. So today it's all about the military. I want to tell you something though. If you're not in the military, it's okay. You can still invest using the VA loan. We'll get to that later. So you don't actually have to be a veteran to use this strategy. It's a little bit easier, but you can work with VA loans if the VA loan is already in place, and we'll get there. So please don't tune out on us. This is a really great subject matter. Here in Savannah, if you're not aware, we do have two military bases. We do not have one, we have two. We have Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, and we have Fort Stewart, which is in Hinesville. So we have many, many, many military families, many people using VA loans and selling homes with VA loans. So we will get into all of this. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get into today's subject matter. I know there's something in here for you. This is what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about the Savannah, Georgia market, but more specifically, we're going to talk about investing in real estate using the VA loan. Real estate is a very unique asset class. You can get wealthy in any way. You can buy stocks and bonds. You can buy real estate. You can flip boats. I mean, there are a million different ways to make money and set up your family for future investment. Most millionaires are made in real estate, okay? And it's a very simple concept. The thing that helps real estate make you more money is that you can use leverage. You can use a loan. So if you want to buy $100,000 worth of Tesla stock, you do need to walk in the door with $100,000. There's no paying $5,000 and getting $100,000 in Tesla stock. It doesn't exist. But with real estate, we have leverage. And the better your loan, the more money you're going to make. And veterans have access to the VA loan. VA loans tend to have the lowest interest rate. You can get in with the lowest amount in cash, and you can buy multiple properties. So we are going to get into that. But if you are active duty, if you're former military, you do have a little tool in your pocket that I don't have and that Dave doesn't have. We are not military, so I'm a little bit envious. I am a real estate investor. I have invested for many years without using a VA loan, but I understand the strategy very well. I've worked with many clients that use this strategy. So we're going to come at you from many different angles. There's something here for everyone, and I really hope that you'll enjoy this presentation. So again, Team 912, we are here to empower our military, and we're very proud to work with them every single day. We do a lot with real estate investing, and we love VA loans. And it's funny because I've been in this industry for many, many years. 10 years ago, when the market was extremely hot, if you had a VA loan or an FHA loan, it was actually less desirable for the seller because the seller had to do some work on the home to get it to the level that it would pass inspection. If you've ever used a VA loan or FHA, you know what I mean. But now the market has cooled a little bit, and we're finding that our VA loan buyers and our FHA buyers, they're actually more desirable than conventional because they're going to live in the home. They're a lot less likely to walk. And so anyway, it's kind of interesting over the years, you see see how the market flips. But if you have access to a VA loan, we're here to tell you that that is an asset, that is not a liability, and you have something in your pocket. So we want to empower you today. We want to educate you today. The smarter you are, the better you are with investments, the better you're going to do. And if you have an agent on your side that's helping you, that's a huge opportunity for you because we understand the numbers. We understand how to do it. We'll give you all of our know-how. Other great thing about real estate investing is that we can work with you on the buy side, which is where most people come in the doors. The buyer's agent is paid for by the seller. So you have the potential to work with an agent that's already trained, already understands investing, can run rent comps, whatever you need. And we're free to you. Okay. We're typically paid by the seller. Not always, but we're typically paid by the seller. So we're here to give you information, suck off of our brains, so to speak, and learn. And we are absolutely here to help you, buy real estate, maybe now, maybe later, rent it out. We have a lot of great case studies and stories for you. This presentation is presented by Team 912 and our website is team912.com. We hope that you'll jot that down. We do have some great information for you at the end of this presentation. So this is our team in a nutshell. Again, we are all local here in Savannah, Georgia. We're all real estate investors ourselves. We are nothing but authentic. We're all agents and we are absolute advocates for the military building wealth. We want to see anyone that's active duty, we would love to see them get out of the military and be making more money from their investments than they are from their retirement. For example, we see that all the time. That's what we do. I've worked with many military investors, as has everyone on our team. So just keep in mind that we are here to educate you and help you, and we absolutely want the best for our clients. And I'm very proud to say here at Team 912, we have a lot of people, they buy once, they realize what an asset we are to their acquisition, and they buy more. So we want you to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many we can handle for you. We're very proud of helping people build portfolios here in Savannah. So these are the items that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the fundamentals of real estate investing. It is important to get educated. If you don't know it all, it's okay. We've been there. We're 2 miles down the road. We'll help you get there. Okay. But having an agent in your corner that really understands what you're trying to do with your property, that can be a huge asset to you. And again, we basically are free since we're paid by the seller. We want to show you there are many, many unique advantages for our military members. Advantages that I don't have. Okay. I've still managed to build a portfolio, but be aware that you have a lot of assets that you may or may not be aware of. So we're here to educate you on that today. PCS moves. If used strategically, PCSing to a different market can be huge for building your portfolio. We have several on our team that are going to talk about that today. And I know that that's probably something that's going to hit home for you. Also, as I have said, using a VA loan for investment can be a huge advantage. We have a lot of information there. Also, one thing we want to talk about are assumable VA loans. I'm not sure if you've heard about this. Even if you're not in the military, you can assume a VA loan. We're going to talk about that towards the end of our webinar. So just be aware, we do have something in here for everyone. We want everyone to be educated. We want everyone to be buying investment real estate here in Savannah or elsewhere. So these are the topics that we're going to cover. Just to introduce myself, I probably should have done that first. My name is Julie Gates. I'm a real estate investor myself. I have a pretty good sized portfolio. I've been investing here in Savannah, Georgia for over 20 years. I love this market and I founded Team 912 and I founded it just to work with investment real estate. I don't really sell Ken and Barbie's dream houses, which I call them. I just don't care. I like to run the numbers. I like to know how much a property will rent for. Will it pay the mortgage? Will it put cash in my pocket? And can I help my buyer do the same? That's my specialty. I love it. And then I was able to find the rest on our team as well. They're very like-minded. Okay, we're here to help you grow wealth, help you to build a portfolio, and we've done it ourselves. Everything we're going to tell you are things that we have done personally. I'm also a property manager. When you look at real estate, you want it to be managed. Many people have a money manager, and if you're in real estate, you most likely want to have a property manager. You don't have to use a property manager. You can self-manage. There's no wrong way to do real estate. Well, there's a wrong way to do real estate, but there's no wrong way to manage your portfolio. That's really up to you. We've had some that want to manage themselves, and then we have others that don't. So if you do buy in the Savannah area, I can help you with property management. We're all going to help you run numbers and tell you what the rent will, come in for, things like that. So I'm actually very involved in many facets of real estate. That's what I'm here to say. I'm extremely passionate about veteran financial empowerment. Wish the military had more financial education. Honestly, I wish our public schools had more financial education, but they don't. Unfortunately, you're most likely learning about this anyway, and you found us. And we hope that you'll learn something here. We really want to provide value today and teach you anything that we can. Next, we have Dave. Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Julie. My name is Dave Demchek. I've been investing in Savannah for about 10 years. My portfolio consists of long-term rentals, specifically a lot of Section 8 rentals, and a few short-term rentals. So that is what I tend to help my clients with, is what I'm the most versed in. But I've done a little bit of everything. I left Savannah and came back. I'm a big believer in the market, big believer in these asset classes and the ability for people to set up a great future for their families through real estate. So I enjoy structuring the deals, the strategy that goes into it, the numbers. I do some new construction, land acquisition, and development. So try to do a little bit of everything, keep it interesting. And again, just looking to help our clients. We have a really great team that has a lot of pieces that really serve all the different parts that go into successful real estate investment. So
thanks, Dave. So my name is Miriam Keaton. I am a military spouse for 20 years now. I'm also a real estate agent and an investor. I came in Savannah maybe 5 years ago from Germany, where we were at the time, and we ended up in Savannah because this is where our new duty station was in. And I started joining like a real estate meetup where I met Julie and a whole bunch of other investors and other people in the industry. And that's what led me to do my real estate license and start working with Julie, because I could see how knowledgeable she is, how professional she is, and I wanted to be part of her team. So yeah, my husband and I, we've been throughout our career and through our different PCS things that like we have been constantly investing. We've been doing mostly living flips. So that's what we've been doing, like in between like PCS moves. And yes, we've definitely, like most military families, we've faced financial challenges, like, carrying two mortgages at times in between transitions and paying for unexpected repairs on properties, or having to rent out a home remotely while already living in a new duty station. So it's been definitely some stressful moments, but at the same time, I want to say that it's also provide very powerful opportunities, because I believe you can turn this lifestyle of military into something that is wealth building at the same time, using the VA benefit. So I'm not positioning myself as an educator, but I'm more than happy to share what I've learned with people who are going through the same experience and are military spouse or in the military wanting to use their VA benefit. So Kyle is up.
Hey, I'm Kyle Beauchamp. I've been active duty Army for 19 years, 7 PCS moves under my belt, currently stationed at Hunter Army Airfield. Been investing in real estate. Probably 2013 is when I first rented out my first property I bought. So it's been about 12 years now. We've got rentals near 5 military installations, Savannah being the most recent.
I just want to clarify for everyone, Dave used the term Section 8 rentals. Section 8, that means that part of their rent is funded by the government, to make that very concise. And then Miriam mentioned live-in flips. And that means that she and her husband have moved into homes that needed work, and they've done a lot of the work themselves. And then they sell the home for much more than what they paid for it. So that's a great investment strategy. There's no wrong way to do it. You can pick your strategy and go for it. And we've all done all of the things. So we want to talk about why you would want to invest in real estate. The first thing we all think of is cash flow from rental income. If you can come up with enough rental houses, you can live off just the rental income, especially as the debt becomes paid down, the revenue goes up. So let's say you have a 30-year mortgage and you own the home for 32 years. By the time you're there, rent has gone up and the mortgage has now gone away, or the mortgage has stayed the same. And that's how you can build wealth and live off of those rental properties. I have one home right here in Savannah, near Savannah. It's called Richmond Hill. And when I first bought the home, I had a tenant inside. I bought it with a lady already living there. She was actually in the military, or her husband was, and she was paying $1,100 in rent. And so I said, oh, perfect, $1,100, that'll just pay the mortgage. My mortgage was $1,089. I didn't have an agent that really was able to help me run numbers. So I actually was losing a little bit of money that first year, and that frustrated me. It wasn't a huge amount of money. It was, maybe 80, $100 a month once I paid property management. But I learned a lot from that. So just, keep in mind that real estate just gets better and better over time. And we're going to talk about that today. You also get tax benefits. Okay. The government needs more housing. They need more rentals. And so they do encourage you through tax benefits to buy rental properties. And I'm very proud of what we're doing here. We're providing really great housing for really great families. And many of our tenants are U.S. military families. And we want that. We want them to come in, have a great place to live, somewhere safe, and bring the dog. We really love long-term wealth creation. As I said, the most millionaires have been made in real estate. You also get what's called appreciation over time. So you might buy a $200,000 house today, but by the time you leave Savannah or by the time you sell it or after 5, 6, 7 years, it's going to be worth more than what you paid for it. And that's huge. So you've made money on the rent the whole time. And then when you sell it 5 years from now, you might have made $200,000 to $300,000 in appreciation. I personally have a house right now. I paid $51,000 for it many years ago, and it's now worth almost $400,000. And that's almost $350,000 in appreciation. And I haven't paid a mortgage yet. My tenants have paid that, and rent goes up, mortgage stays the same. So that's kind of how we do the math. You can use leverage, and if you have a VA loan, you can do low or no money down. It's really a great concept. I always tell people, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, I always encourage you buy at least one door per year. If you can start in your 20s buying one door per year, you will do very well into retirement. This is a very long-term play. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme by any means. This is a very tried and true strategy. And we just want to encourage you, just have that mindset. I'm going to buy one every year. We're going to teach you how to do that today, especially if you have the VA loan, you can do that.
So the other thing we can help you with is just strategies as a beginner, right? So many opportunities in real estate. Savannah is a very unique market. One of the reasons I love it so much is because to me, it's one of the few markets where you genuinely have great long-term cash flowing deals as well as short-term rentals. We do everything from buy and hold. Obviously, house hacking is something a lot of our military guys like. That's how personally I started in real estate. A lot of guys will buy a multi-unit, live in one of the units, rent out the other units. I actually bought a house and had roommates back in that day. So that was actually my first experience in real estate and saw the power of it. There's also a great opportunity for multifamily. In my career, Savannah is a really good market for that. Just in explaining the differences between how to calculate your cash flow, make decisions, and figuring out the best order in which to do things so that it aligns with your long-term strategy. The most efficient way to achieve whatever goals you've set for your real estate investments. And again, short-term versus long-term. A lot of times you're looking at great short-term rental market. There's no opportunity for long-term. A lot of the long-term markets tend to have great cash flow, but very little hope for appreciation in the future. Savannah's got a lot going for it in terms of tourism, seasonal rentals, but also, we've got our port, we've got Gulfstream, we've got the Hyundai plant, we've got a lot of long-term economic drivers that make it really attractive. And as much as some of us who've been in it for a while, have a hard time with the prices the way they are now, when you look at other markets, it's still just such a great deal. The amount of rent you can get for the purchase price.
Wow, I love these webinars. Even though I know you guys and we talk on a regular basis, I'm still always learning stuff. So this is pretty amazing. So the military relocation and investment opportunity, well, tell me about it. Yeah, you move a lot every 2-3 years approximately. Most people will see that as a disruption, and it is stressful to go through it. But at the same time, like I said earlier, every move is also a chance to acquire a new property in a new market. And with the right strategy, like Dave was talking earlier, whether it be a single family rental that provides steady long-term income, or do multi-families where you do house hacking and all that. Over time, you create a multi-market portfolio, which is amazing that we have this opportunity using the VA benefit, because seriously, it's a very strong tool to build and create wealth over the years. Think about it. You can, each duty station, you can get a new property. You can have a property in North Carolina, another one in Texas, one in Georgia. And that diversification protects you from basically from the different economic environment, from the downturns into the different states. So that could be a very good way to invest, and having properties in different states. Yeah, over time you create, like I said, multi-market portfolio. Nowadays also, it's kind of easy to manage everything online with all the different tools that is available. So you can collect rent, you can can manage maintenance appointment, you can screen tenants, you can automate communication and also your bookings. So what used to be very overwhelming is now easily feasible. Yeah, using the VA benefit to your advantage as a powerful tool to build wealth is definitely a great benefit to the military community.
So we're going to go into a deal that we just closed last month. Helped an active duty Marine out of Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, right across the state line in South Carolina. Close on a brand new construction duplex. It's 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, about 1,200 square feet per unit. This thing was originally listed at $525. A couple of months on the market, they dropped to $495. Construction was not complete at this point. They're still doing finishing touches. We ended up getting it under contract for $475 with a $10,000 seller concession, effectively $465 purchase price. At closing, duty soldier, he used a VA loan. At closing, he had to cut a check for $2,600 to control a $500,000 asset. The only reason he had to cut a check at closing is because he bought his rate down to 6.25. Market rates at the time were about 7. He could have, had he not bought down his rate, he could have walked away with a $2,200 check and got paid to control a $500,000 asset. That rate buy down is about $4,800, and it will pay for itself based on reduced mortgage cost in just under 3 years, I believe. So it'll be worth it as long as he holds that loan for 3 years. His current payment is going to come in. It's downtown Savannah. They've got some pretty high taxes. So on new construction, it's coming in about $3,500 payment. He's looking at $2,000 for rent. So $2,000 on one side for rent. He'll pay the other $1,500 out of his housing allowance. And over time, he's going to move out. The other side will rent for another $2,000 initially, and over time his mortgage payment will stay the same or go down if he refinances into a lower rate, and his rents are going to continue to climb just like they have for the past forever. So great deal for an active duty Marine. Get his foot in the door with investing, and in a year he can go buy another one and do it again. He still has eligibility left.
Kyle, do you know the age of this Marine? I know he's in his early 20s. Do you know his exact age?
I think he's 24. I'm not sure though on the exact age.
And then what's your guess on his annual income?
Probably in the 50,000 range
Okay. So
with housing allowance and everything.
Kyle helped an active duty Marine making under 50,000 in his early 20s, and he owns 2 doors in his portfolio, and he paid $2,200 for that, and his tenants are going to pay that back. I love that.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. That's what we like to hear, and we want more of that, right? We want to be able to help other people just as much as Kyle helped this Marine, and then have other successful story to be able to tell on YouTube channels, right? For people to learn from it and use this tool, because it's the most powerful tool available to the service members and veterans. So that's pretty amazing. And so the 0% down is, that means you can enter the market with no upfront cash. So that's really amazing. I mean, who else could do that? I'm from Canada, you guys. I was just there last week, a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to my young nephews and nieces, and they want to buy a house, and forget about it. It's a lot harder. They have to come up with the 25% down. So having a 0% down is a huge benefit that that is amazing, an amazing tool. And another advantage is you don't have no private mortgage insurance. So if you have to put 20% down to pay on conventional mortgage, that could be like what? Certainly a couple $1,000s a year. So that is something that you are saving. So that a lot, $2,000, you could go on a mini vacation for that. I mean, it's not something to just disregard. So that's another great advantage. And I know there's a funding fee. I think Kyle's going to probably talk about that a little bit later, I suppose. But I think it's between 1.25 and 3.3, I think, Kyle. And but I think it could be rolled into the loan. So, right?
Yeah, so you can finance it into a loan if it's the first time you've used it. It's 2.15%. And then if you put a down payment of 5% down, it's 1.5, 10% down reduces it to 1.25. And then your second use with less than 5% down is 3.3%.
Okay. And does it depend on whether it's your first deal or second deal? How does that impact the one-time funding fee?
That's right. Yeah. So subsequent use, second tier entitlement is 3.3% funding fee. And then we'll talk about it during the assumption portion. If you assume a loan, it's just a flat 0.5% of the loan amount.
Okay. And like Julie mentioned earlier at the beginning of the webinar, the VA loans, the rates are often better than a conventional because they are government backed. The fact that it's government backed is reducing the risk. So the lenders feel a little bit more, safe that you are going to, it's guaranteed. Of course, it doesn't mean you should not be shopping for lenders, but there's one thing I'd like to just talk about like a little bit quickly, and you all can give me your feedback on that. But I remember when at some point, James and I were looking for a house and we wanted to use our VA benefit, and the agents was not familiar with it. And she kind of like told us that it was not a good idea because the seller were scared of VA loans. How can somebody, Kyle, what do you have to say about that?
I think that's a great transition into the next slide. Some of the loan myths. So that's definitely VA loans harder to close. Definitely a myth. I think that fear the VA appraisal / inspection. I know Julie hit on it, saying they were not really ideal to use VA FHA loans. It's really, I mean, the property should appraise for what it's selling for.
Right.
I completely agree. I don't see any issue with that. If I'm paying 500,000 for a house and it appraises at 350, we have a problem, right? So I don't think that's a big deal. And then the inspection, is the home safe? Is it structurally sound? That's the things they're looking at.
So they're
There's
basically protecting the veteran and it's not against the seller.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's anything crazy. I haven't had any issues with VA loans. I've heard people say, "Oh, they take so long to close," but they really don't. There's a lot of strict timelines that have to be followed. Like appraisals have to be done within 14 days. Typically, they're done in the first 7, and that's during your due diligence, anyways. So I haven't seen them slow down loan processing.
I was going to say a lot of these myths come from a lack of education. And that's why we're here today. We want to educate you, the buyer, and maybe you're an agent as well. But the more educated you are, the more you can serve your buyer, the more you can serve yourself and your family. So, you hear all kind of crazy myths. We're just here to talk about real estate, but there are so many dumb things that people say, and it doesn't make it true just because 5 people told you that myth. We're educated, we use these products, and we're here to help you do it. And this is a very valuable product in any market, and especially now.
I also think that the more the people are educated and informed about the whole process of how VA works, that they can educate their lender, their agent, so they can reassure the seller that it's nothing worse than FHA loan, right? The whole process. And so for me, I would have liked to know that at the time, because I could have just talked to my real estate agent and explained to her how it works so she could, because they are our voice to the seller, right? So you want them to understand. I felt like maybe the agents also need to get some education on that.
Well, and
Definitely.
with me as your agent, when we write the contract, there's a spot on the VA loan exhibit, and we cap what the seller is responsible for, and it's typically $1,000. And I understand that that's a lot of money, but if I'm representing the buyer who's using a VA loan, I'm just explaining my process, which is for most everyone else, I would assume the same. But I'm going to come in and say, hey, I have a buyer with a VA loan. And yes, you, the seller, is on the hook for some repairs. And that is what freaks out some people because they think it's $20,000, $30,000, $80,000. But that's not how it works. Maybe a loose handrail. Sometimes it's a paint issue. If they feel that the exterior, the paint needs to be, again, they're protecting the buyer. Okay. The lender represent the buyer and they're going to only let them close on that loan if they feel like the house is safe and ready. And it's usually very small repairs. I'm dealing with one right now and we had to send a handyman over and do a few things. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was capped at $1,000. Everyone's happy. It was a little bit of a pain in the neck, but not enough to let that buyer walk. We were thankful for that buyer.
Definitely. And some of the other myths, you want to go back?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So people say you can only use it once. I know that's fake because I have 3 VA loans out right now and I still have eligibility left, about 148,000 left. And the current in all counties besides the 20 highest priced counties in the United States, the current loan amount maximum eligibility is $806,500. Once you go over that, you can still use a VA loan. You just have to put 25% of the difference down. So say I have, $200,000 in eligibility left and I want a $300,000 house. There's a $100,000 gap. I have to put 25,000 down on that, which is still far less than 20% on the overall purchase price, right? So definitely a myth. And then VA loans can't be used for investing. I'm currently in one of my VA loans. Two of them are rental properties. So you can definitely use it for investing. You can use a VA loan on a multifamily house. You can buy up to 4 units on a VA loan, rent out the other 3 units, house hack it while you're living in it, and move out and rent out the unit you were in. So it can definitely be used for investing. I'm actually getting ready to sell one of my houses. My first house that I bought on a VA loan had the same tenant in it for over 10 years. She just moved out a couple months ago. We did a few light updates, and we bought the house for $97,000 in 2010 at Fort Hood, and we're getting ready to sell it for $230. And one of the additional benefits that veterans get, it's IRS Section 121, capital gains exclusion for a primary residence. So if you've lived in your house, for anyone, if you've lived in your house 2 of the last 5 years, you don't pay capital gains on the sale up to $250,000 if you're single, $500,000 if you're married. If you are active duty military, you get a 10-year extension on that. So if you have lived in the house 2 of the last 15 years,
Crazy.
you can sell it and not pay capital gains on it. So we are coming up on our 15th year next year, and the tenant had just moved out, so we decided to sell. We're nowhere near the 500,000 in capital gains, but the property has gone up what we bought it for, and it's been cash flowing for the last over a decade. Done great on taxes with write-offs and depreciation, and yeah, we're going to sell it, and that mortgage will go away. We'll pay off another mortgage with it as I look towards retirement from the military.
And
So
when you look at selling that, how much debt on that house has that tenant paid down for you? In addition to giving you cash every month, they've been paying down your loan for 10 years. Do you know the number on that? How much debt pay down they've?
yeah, so well, we initially paid 97 for it. We did put some on the principal initially because we were not informed that that was not the right move at a 3.5% interest rate to try to pay it down. You know, inflation is higher than that. It just doesn't make sense to pay down a mortgage at that low of an interest rate. But we currently owe around 44 on it out of the 97 that we bought it for.
So your tenant paid about $50,000 of your debt, and then the appreciation you get to keep tax free. I mean, that is why real estate is so powerful. Kyle is full-time active duty right now, and he has a decent sized portfolio right now. Love it.
Moving into assumables, so very powerful tool right now, especially in this high interest rate market. You can take over a VA loan at the low interest rate. So I actually will talk about it on the next slide here in a minute, but I actually did this on my personal residence, and there are a lot more available than you'd think. So we kind of scour the MLS and look at every single listing and pull mortgage data and see, you know, who has a VA loan on a house that's currently for sale. The loan was taken out between, 2020 and early 2022. About January, February was about the cutoff before interest rates started jumping. And you can take over these loans in the 2%, 3% range and save thousands and thousands of dollars on it. You don't have to be a veteran to do this. It is a little more difficult. If you're not substituting your entitlement, the loan would stay on the seller's certificate of eligibility. They are no longer responsible for the mortgage. It's a legal sale. There's a deed transferred. Everything is done as a full sale, but it does remain on their VA certificate of eligibility until it's disposed of or paid off. So it's a little more difficult. Some people are extremely hesitant about that. So if you want to go to the next slide, and we'll go into the analysis on the one I did. So I was moving to Savannah, and I found Julie on Bigger Pockets, and I was talking to her for a while, and she's like, "You're looking for your Ken and Barbie house? Like, I don't do this." And I was like, "But you're an investor. I'm an investor. I care about the numbers, and I know that's how your mind works as an investor."
Yep.
So yeah, we talked for a while, and we ended up working it out, and Julie represented me on this deal, and we went through all the listings, and I did want to be in a very specific school district, which greatly reduced the number of houses that were available, but there were still, because there's so many military bases here, Hunter Army Airfield, Fort Stewart, Beaufort Marine Corps Air Station, 3 military bases. There's a lot of people around here who have VA loans. So there was over 100 that were available on the market, 2 and 3% interest rates. And we kind of went through and picked the school district and size of the house that we wanted and the general area. And then from there, it was all about the numbers. So we limited it down, and we ended up purchasing a 4-bed, 3-bath. Original list price was $440. After a couple months on the market, they dropped it to $405, and we were able to get in at $391. So fairly large price reduction there. And and we kind of explained it. I explained it through Julie to the listing agent that, hey, it's about the numbers for me. And there was two final properties we were looking at, and the other one they were offering it at 391. We were able to talk them down to. This one was at 395. And I said, hey, if y'all match the 391, we'll buy it. And they took the 391, extremely hesitant, but it worked out. The mortgage balance on it at closing, 329. So that's one thing that keeps people out of the assumable market. You do have to have some cash for a down payment. So there's definitely a gap on 99% of them. There's going to be a gap between the current balance and the purchase price. And that's because they bought these houses in 2020 and 2021, and real estate appreciates, which it will continue to do after you assume the loan. We got a 3.125% interest rate when the current market rates were over 7. A lot of the benefits, the closing costs are much lower on an assumption. So lenders are fixed to certain pricing. So like we paid $700 for loan processing, and there was a 0.5% funding fee, like $1,600. And then obviously you got to pay for title work and, prepaid interest, taxes, insurance, transfer taxes. Those are non-negotiables, right? So all in closing costs, we were at about $5,000.
Not
Our total cash that we had to bring to the deal was $67,000. And, veterans are like, zero down, that's so much money compared to zero down. It's only 17% down of the purchase price, right? If you get a conventional loan, you're putting more than that down on a house like this. So $67,000 cash to close, and we're already 3 years into the amortization. So some of the numbers, our payments right at $2,000. If we were to put the same $67,000 on this house at the 7.25 interest rate, our payment would be about $2,700 more. If we did a VA loan with zero down at the time and just bought it outright, no assumption, at the 7%, it'd be about $3,200 payment instead of $2,000. $1,200 a month difference. Like I said, we're 3 years into the amortization. So our first monthly payment on this house, $900 went to interest. If we got a VA loan on this house right now with zero down, our first month of interest would be $2,400. Absolutely ridiculous.
Wow.
$1,400 increase in interest just because we're 3 years into the amortization and we have half the interest rate.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very powerful tool. Highly recommend it. Like I said, you do have to have some cash to get in this game, but it is worth it. You will save so much money in the long term. And this house would definitely not cash flow if you bought it at 7%. Add a $2,000 payment, we can rent it for about $2,800 if we were to rent it right now. And that number will keep going up as well. So that is the assumable deal that Julie helped me out with.
Very proudly.
It's going to be great.
Well,
We're going to hold on to this forever.
Go ahead, Miriam.
I was just wondering, is there some kind of way to finance the gap somehow?
Yeah, so there's a couple products out there. So I've got a lender that will do secondary financing on the gap up to 90% the purchase price, minimum loan 50,000 on it on the second. So the numbers would have to work right. And then you've got to look at, does it make sense if I'm say I'm assuming a $200,000 loan and my secondary financing is $200,000 because the gap was so large. If I have a 3% on 200,000 and I have 8% because you're going to pay higher interest on a second position mortgage on another 200,000, what am I at for my average? Does it make sense still? That's like a 5.5% average. Rates are coming down right now. You can get a loan in the S6. Does it make sense to do that and have the 10% down, or do you just get a VA loan, zero down at that? So it's a numbers game, deal by deal on the secondary. If secondary financing is required.
It is a numbers game. And I want to say that that's what we're here to do, though. Every one of us runs the numbers and helps our clients run the numbers. We'll do it for you. So if Kyle's your agent, just like that Marine, Kyle told him these are the numbers, and Kyle knows his numbers, and it's all a math equation. And, just to circle back, when you get a loan, you're paying more interest first couple years than later. Like the banks tend to front end a loan. So they put all the interest up front because they want to get paid. And let's say you default, right? They would have already made a good bit of their profit. By the time you default 5 years in, they've already made a good bit of the profit. So That's where this VA loan investment, I mean, VA assumption is very powerful. Now, I could assume a VA loan. I had one under contract here in Savannah for someone that was not a veteran, but because the loan was a VA loan and the lady was older, she had no intention of buying another home. She had already bought another home using her VA benefit. So the buyer assumes the loan and they are responsible for it. If they get foreclosed on, that's on them. It's not for this elderly lady. She doesn't get her credit affected at all. The loan was on my buyer who was not a veteran, but they qualified for the loan with a bank. They took it over, but she didn't care that she lost about 400,000 in her VA eligibility. She just needed out of the house. So my buyer did her a favor taking the house off of her plate and paying the mortgage, but she also did him a favor by handing him a 2.8% APR on a mortgage with about, I don't know, I think it was 28, 29 years left on the mortgage. So it was really a win-win situation. So if you're a veteran, you can use this strategy. If you're not a veteran, you can use a strategy, but you do have to state that you'll be living in the home for at least a year. That's one of the requirements of a VA loan.
That requirement is only listed if there's a substitution of entitlement. If you are a non-veteran assuming a loan and it is staying on the same certificate, or if you're a veteran assuming a loan and you don't do a substitution of entitlement, the VA does not have an occupancy requirement.
Okay.
A lender may still require it, but the VA handbook does not state that.
Kyle's the kind of agent that's going to read the handbook just for you.
Kyle, talk about what about credit score and what, do the VA look at these things, credit score and how much money you have in your bank account?
Yeah, so you have to have a little cash in the bank, so you have to have some type of reserves. You can't literally have $0 in your bank and be living check to check and qualify for the loan. And then there are also credit score requirements. I can't off the top of my head remember the number. I want to say 620 is the minimum.
I was gonna say 620 too. That's what I remembered it to be, but I
just
Kyle,
Googled it, 620, right on.
let's say you own a house and you're going to PCS to a different market. Is there a different credit score requirement or cash for the second and third purchase?
No, I think 620
Okay.
is like the cutoff. You can get lower than that, I believe, but you're gonna, get a higher interest rate, for example, because it's a more risky product for the bank.
Awesome. Great question, Miriam.
Okay, so I want to talk about how we feel like we're uniquely positioned to help. Analyzing deals is something we all do as a hobby.
It's true.
Kyle specifically does his VA loan assumption analysis, I think every day or regularly. It's actually incredibly impressive. And the rest of us, we're always looking at deals. We're investors, right? So I just think we look at deals through the lens of would we buy them? You're not having somebody that just has numbers on a piece of paper and doesn't really understand. We've all been through this a bunch of times, can tell you why we wouldn't do this deal just as good as why we would do this deal. As far as, connecting with lenders and resources, we've been in the game a long time. We just have the connections with those people. Through experience, we know who's good, who's not as good, who's terrible, whatever the case may be. Assisting with PCS-based investing. So again, we've got people on this team that have done it multiple times in different areas. So, we deal as a team heavily with out-of-state investors, right? Not necessarily PCS, but same muscle. So I think, when you are leaving an area, you need that infrastructure in place. You need your management to be right. You need to know you have people that have dealt with it and deal with out-of-state people pretty regularly. I think the PCS based stuff, being in the military is such a unique position where you're probably moving every few years. And you hear people say, well, if you're only going to be somewhere a couple of years, you might as well just rent. But I think a lot of people are starting to understand that, mathematically, that might make sense for the first couple of years. But if you zoom out and you look 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, you leave a place, you rent a place for a couple of years, you leave, you go in, you buy a place, you're paying the same amount in rent. Yes, most of it's going to interest, but then you start getting the principal pay down. Then you start getting the appreciation. Then you start getting the depreciation. So all the tax stuff and just being able to explain what that looks like in the real world, I think is one of the things that sets us apart. And then guiding you through assumptions and purchases. Obviously, I don't think anyone's more qualified, anything regarding VA specifically assumptions than Kyle. I mean, I learned, I did not know until a few months ago when I joined this team, a non-VA, a non-military, non-veteran could assume a VA loan. And anyone who knows real estate knows what a powerful tool it can be. Implementing it, like, as Miriam said, some of these agents will tell you it's not good, it's hard. Imagine if you were trying to buy it with an agent that felt that way, right? And so few people, I was an agent for many years and did not know that about assuming them as a non-veteran. So there's just a lot of tools that I feel like we as a team have used ourselves multiple times. So we're pretty well versed in them and confident in knowing when to use the right tool for the job.
So, next steps, I hope you've learned something. We are here to help. And I hope you know if you're not buying in Savannah, but you're in the military and you are interested in investing using your VA loan, we can actually help you nationwide. We can't necessarily represent you and open a door in Detroit, but as agents, we can help you find agents that have similar skill sets to what we have here at Team 912. So I want to encourage you, don't feel like you have to buy or move to Savannah, Georgia in order to use this. Like, we are here to help. I actually have a buyer, he buys all over the place, and I work with that agent in that town directly as his representative, and it does work. It's completely legal. And we are, again, experts, and you want someone on your side working for you that really understands what you're going to do and has the most creative strategy of how to get that job done. We're very proud of what we're doing here in Savannah. And again, we can do it in many locations. So please feel free to reach out. We'd love to meet you at any meetups or here locally. You can book a free one-on-one consultation anytime. We do have a QR code here. We have a downloadable form. It gives you really the basics of investing for military personnel, also for investing using the VA. Please reach out. We're glad to talk to you anytime. You're welcome to visit our website, team912.com. We have a ton of resources on there. We have calculators where you can type in the numbers of what you're going to buy, put in the rental amount, and it will tell you how much money that house will earn for you. Okay, we have everything set up for you to be successful. There are many, many tools. We're very versed in this, and we would love to have you follow us for future events. I'm on social media as Sid was here 912. Unfortunately, that's not on your screen, but you can always Google Team 912, Sid was here. We're always here to help. We do have our social media up on our website. So we do encourage you to follow us, watch for events, get educated. When I started investing, I didn't read a book. And podcasts didn't even exist. And I still figured it out. But nowadays you have so many capabilities. And I just can't tell you, if you can team up with an agent like myself, like Dave, like Miriam, like Kyle, where we've already been down that path, you can learn for free off of our mistakes. That's where we've learned the most, is when we've lost money on a deal, or when we've messed up a rehab, or we've bought wrong. You can learn off of all of that for free. We would love to work with you. We truly hope that you've learned something by this webinar. And we hope that you'll reach out. We'd love to stay in touch. We have our email address here specifically for veterans. If you're a veteran, reach out to vet at Team 912. We'll reach out to you. But we really appreciate each and every one of you, staying with us today on this webinar. I hope it's been informational. And I just hope you know that we're all here to help. We love what we do. We love helping people grow wealth through real estate investing. Anyone have any final words for our crowd?
I just want to say, do not leave your VA benefit on a shelf. Use it to buy a house, but not only to buy a house, but to build your wealth too for the future.
Well said. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This is the end of our episode. Again, reach out anytime. We're here for you. We love buying investment real estate. Have a great day.
Fields of green, seeds of split, I sow. Running numbers, watch the cash trees grow. Savannah, where the dreamers dwell. Get your hustle on, ring that wealth bell.